Welcome to the Echo Tips podcast.
Haha.
Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips podcast.
You can import various file types into Google Keep, including text, lists, images, and audio. Google Keep can also extract text from images using optical character recognition,
it does, yep.
And it automatically transcribes voice recordings.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Echo Tips podcast. It's good to have you listeners returning and new here with us this week. I'm the host of the show. My name is David Ward, and before I give you new listeners really kind of a primer on what this show is all about, the Echo Tips podcast, now in its 8th season with over 380 episodes. Before I give you that little primer, we'll talk about what we're going to be discussing in general this week. And as we have been lately, turning a little bit away from the Amazon Echo, although definitely doing a comparison as we go, we're trying out the new Gemini Live Assistant, or Gemini Assistant. I don't know if Live is still the branding. Google's always changing their branding, so it's always a challenge to figure out. But we're really going to be trying to play, and I'm bumping into the microphone here a little bit, with a Gemini Live Assistant on the Nest devices, which are their physical apparatuses, appliances you can put throughout your home. It basically, well, it is. It's a smart speaker. So a direct competitor to the Amazon Echo line of devices. So I have a little Nest Mini here, the modern edition, here on the studio desk, piped in, really close to the microphone again today, so you guys can hear it as we go through this. So we're going to be looking at several different things today, since I'm in my 30-day free trial, hopefully, and I'll probably be terminating that trial here on the 20th of December, or a little bit before that. So some of the things we've been trying out, and by all means go back and hear my first impressions, the last couple of episodes. But today we're going to be looking at, in particular, the pricing plan again for that with the Home Premium. I got an email. I don't know if it really updated many of these figures, but I thought I'd share these figures with you again. And then also maybe some errata, that is some errors from a previous podcast. One of our listeners, Kyler, kind of corrected me on something, a setting that I didn't think was there. And maybe earlier in the beta, maybe it wasn't there and I couldn't find it, but it's there now. And so we'll talk about that on the Amazon Echo. And then lastly, as I triage some of these settings, features, what I can do, what I can't do with Gemini and the Google Assistant, just kind of give you guys a little crash course in what I've been experiencing and some of my thoughts there as I dove deeper into the app settings with the Google Assistant app, which we talked a little bit in a previous episode, which contains some of the settings for the overall Nest configurations with Gemini. So anyway, in the past episode, we did a wonderful kind of a demo, if I may say myself, of the audio quality of the voices that are just stellar AI-infused voices on Gemini. Actually, probably the most impressive by far of anything on the device, but they are really good. So if you haven't heard that episode, by all means, go back and check that out. Okay, well, I think that gives us a little idea what we're going to be nuggetizing today. I honestly don't know how long this is going to go because I have my notes here in front of me, but I'll try to keep it as brief and not wander too far afield. So for our new listeners, once again, I'd like to welcome you to the Echo Tips podcast. As the name may imply, if you haven't already discerned, we talk about everything connected with the A-Lady that is, and I'm going to say her name here, so if anybody has an echo in hearing distance of my voice. Well, actually, we'll be saying several of the wake words today, including Alexa, or A-Lady, as I often would say, to play it safe. And we'll be saying Captain Picard, Captain Kirk's computer wake word as well. And of course the Hey G word today, because we have the Google Assistant with Gemini we're going to be playing with today. So by all means, if anybody has those listening, you may want to shut its ears off, even sometimes if that's the device you're listening on. That seems to sometimes happen as well. Actually, I have a setting today that may affect that thing. That's interesting. It's a neat little quirk I found in settings somewhere. Anyway, so we talk about all things smart speaker Alexa, now I'll say the name, related, and we talk about the hardware, we talk about the software, we talk about the new Alexa Plus AI-infused goodness, which I've been doing a number of episodes on. We have at least a back catalog of at least, 13, 14 episodes about that, and we're kind of doing some cross comparisons now that we're with Gemini. And so, by all means, go back, check that out. And over 8 seasons, guys, if you're new to the show, we've covered a lot of things from home automation, applications and apps for kids and games and parents, caregivers, business environment setups, home security, just how to play different types of media types, what are the deals, how to play audiobooks, newspapers, a huge plethora of things that we've covered over these seasons. So by all means, go check out our back catalog. Okay, well, I think that will basically do it. Now we'll get into the core meat of the matter. Hello, and welcome back. I just realized I said the meat and the matter. Maybe that's not vegan, vegetarian friendly. I have to find another synonym or metaphor to use. Anyway, all right, guys. So what we're going to first start off is with cost, because Gemini does require, although in the early emails I saw, it suggested that Gemini would have certain free services on the Nest device, and that you might be able to get those for free. I don't know for certain if that is still the game plan, other than that one email or website link I got to that talked about that and had kind of a chart and then bifurcated between free services that you would get with Gemini and then paid for services. So I haven't really seen any follow-up from that. I think the ultimate test for that will be when I finally shut off the paid for service and see if I still retain anything on my Google Nest that's AI good. That could be cool. So let's crash course that. So first I'm going to talk about the payment plans. Then we're going to talk about Kyler's mentioning a setting that I didn't realize was available under Alexa Plus. I thought it had been neutered or taken away. It was a complete non-thing. Deprecated feature, as the developers would say. And then we'll burrow into some of the settings that I've been playing around with inside of the Google Assistant, which houses some of the setting panels for your Google Nest with Gemini. Okay, so let's delve right into the first thing, which is cost. So the naming convention here is, and I got an entire email about this, so I had to write some of this down. Some of the most interesting facts I learned were in the the footnotes at the bottom of the page in itty bitty little tiny print. But I'm going to share some of those with you too. Okay, so first off, it's called Google Home Premium. Google Home Premium. And I didn't write it down here, but I think I covered it in an earlier episode. It did used to be branded something else as part of their security packages. I believe it was called Nest Aware or something like that. But you can go back and check a back catalog for that. But now the new naming convention for the hot minute that Google is using it is called Google Home Premium. Now, of those, it has 2 versions. Yes, 2 versions of it. And I am currently signed up for Standard Plan. And the Standard Plan goes for about $10 a month if you're paying month by month. And if you pay by the year, you get a little bit of a discount. It's $100. Now, I could have gone through the iterations of all the different options on this, but honest to goodness, I didn't see anything that jumped out at me at all that separated the Standard Plan from the other plan, which is called the Advanced Plan, which is $20 a month, or if you buy a year at a time, $200. The main things I see had no influence on Gemini, really, that I could tell of, although maybe if I can go find that chart again somewhere, we could find some sort of separation. It was principally connected with the Security Suite software, but services that are often connected with this Google Home Premium, which is basically you get, if you have the cameras, the Google cameras and front doorbells and stuff like that, you get a certain number of, advanced features, I think. Like maybe it can recognize who's at your front door if you set it up that way. Most of it is connected with how much storage it has, though. So basically, whatever the $10 a month plan has, if you double that in the advanced plan, which is $20 a month, you get basically double, the video storage. But you can go check that out, guys, if that's something you're really interested. And I would say, up until now, the really snazzy features, which I haven't been able to try because I don't have a Google Ring doorbell device or whatever they call it, or security cameras, is often with Gemini usage connected with that. The ability to say, hey, did the mail get delivered already today, or something like that. And to be able to check the cameras and see if there was an alert or an activity that saw the mailman or, the little mail truck. And then it can come back and say, yes, I did see that. So anyway, so that is our price points, $10 a month or $20 a month. And you get a discount if you do the yearly plan. Okay, the other thing I was going to mention to you was some of these little footnotes. And these are things that I learned, through trial and error, as I said on an earlier podcast. One is a footnote that specifically says that Gemini features work independently of any other Gemini apps, and the features do not basically map one-to-one. So we had to learn that the hard way, but anyway, there you go. Okay, the other thing I was going to mention to you here that's in the footnotes is this comment here about really its availability, that it was still an early access. If you had the right hardware, you may get access to it when you basically get the invite or invitation. Starting as of October 28th, which I think we all knew. It was the exact same day I think Alexa was making, or very close, within a day or so, when they were making their stuff available when they shipped some new hardware devices. But it also mentioned here it will be coming available in other countries outside the United States in early 2026. So there's another footnote item. Okay, so that gives you a little crash course in some of those footnotes. So the other thing I was going to mention to you is a little bit of errata, although I think that implies more than one error. This is just basically one boo-boo that I made here. And that was, I made a comment earlier about one of the things that I liked about Gemini out of the box was it didn't have automatically enabled that follow-up mode where it continues to listen after it gives a response. So I say, hey, G, what's 2 plus 2? It comes back and says 4. And then I can just say, without saying, hey, G, I can say, okay, add 100 to that, or add 200 to that, or multiply that times 56. And it's still listening for a brief period of time, a number of seconds after that, to respond. That feature is not on automatically when you enable Gemini, which I kind of like. And the clear, crisp tones that denote that you can turn on as a visually impaired person, that denote that it's beginning the listening and stopping listening, which I still have enabled. Those seem to work still really, really well and crisp, although I haven't tried them with their version of follow-up mode, which can be enabled. But out of the box, when you get Gemini enabled, it's not on. It functions just like it always had. Now, one of my errors in judgment there was that I know on the Meta Ray-Bans you can do a similar thing. Follow-up mode is on by default, just like Alexa Plus. And you can shut that off in the Meta Ray-Bans. But I made the comment that I didn't think there was any way to do that with Alexa Plus, that you were pretty much stuck with follow-up mode where it's always listening afterwards. And as a consequence, you guys have probably heard in the demos that I've been doing for the last couple of months that I shut the little jingle off with Alexa because it just kind of was all over the place and it wasn't synchronized very well. And with the follow-up mode continuing to go, it just didn't seem to jive very well. It was just like an aggravation of anything. So I'd shut it off. But anywho, I couldn't back then. Of course, I was early in the beta testing, so this feature may not have been there when I first looked. But since then, Kyler, one of our listeners, mentioned that actually it is in there and you can toggle it off. So he is correct. If you go into the Alexa app you go to Devices, and you go to your individual Amazon Echoes throughout your home. So you have Echo in the kitchen, it's called Kitchen Echo or Dave's Echo or whatever. You find the Echo you want, you tap on that, and then you tap in the gear settings icon in the top right. Then you scroll down that page and you're looking for follow-up mode. And it's down under several of those different settings, like where's the address of your Echo located, and kids mode, and a few other things. Follow-up mode is clearly there and can be toggled on and off. And I did double check it to make sure, because I was skeptical that it was going to kick back an error, say you're in Alexa Plus, you can't do it. But no, it actually does work, just like Kyler said. And so that feature is available. So it's just a matter of really whether these things automatically have them on or off when you first enable the AI goodness. Okay, guys, so let's move on to what I discern from settings inside of Google Assistant. And different things may be connected to Gemini and its configuration. Things, sort of interesting. Other things, anyway. So just to give you guys a little crash course in case you didn't hear last week's episode, another error I had made at some point was really connected with the setup and configuration of the Google Nest Mini. So in yesteryears, when it was before the Gemini, you had to use two apps. One was primarily for setup, the Google Home app, as in home automation. That's where you'd put all your smart light bulbs and different things that were compatible with Google, or probably now Matter, because Google does Matter, I do believe, as well. And you would do that for initial setup of these smart speakers, the Google Nest Minis and the others. But for additional configuration options, because in Google's infinite wisdom, you couldn't have it all in one thing, you would do this inside the Google Assistant app. Now, I at some point had thought that app had been retired and rebranded the Gemini app, but I was mistaken, and actually both exist now. So there's actually three apps. There's the Google Home app, the Google Assistant app, and the Google Gemini app. Now, as I read in that footnote earlier and learned through my own frustration, the Gemini app has nothing. It's like a totally siloed off Gemini. In fact, it has a whole different payment process. If you want to get like Google Premium membership or whatever they call it over in Gemini land, it's totally separate. So that Gemini could have a different voice, the way it processes information is different, and its feature set is entirely different. Like, for example, it has some beta things in it where you can theoretically connect it to your Google Workspace account and have it triage documents and calendar things and do some pretty fancy stuff. None of that stuff at this time is proportional or carried over to the Google Assistant Gemini on the Nest devices. Now, that's not to say they won't be. In fact, I would imagine they're probably using Gemini, the Gemini app, as kind of like a testing ground for new features as they roll out. And once they really get maybe locked in, maybe they'll bring them over to the Google Assistant. Or maybe the Google Assistant feature set on the Gemini Nest devices. But I don't know. Maybe they'll just merge the apps to try and keep us from all losing our minds. But anyway, at this point, the two apps you need to know about are the Google Home app and the Google Assistant app. Now, since I finally figured this out, I decided I need to burrow into the Google Assistant settings to see if there's any nuances of Gemini configuration that I was unacquainted with and features that I was unacquainted with. And so what did I learn and discern? So that's what we're going to look at here now. So going into the Google Assistant app, you can go up to it's like a blank window where you can just talk to the thing or type in a message. But you can go up into the settings and then burrow down into these. Some of the things I found were kind of interesting, at least tantalizingly interesting. The first thing I noticed here was this personal you option. So your personal information and ways you can configure it. So you can go into there and it has some pretty interesting categories with music, podcasts, nickname for yourself. I am El Capitan, by the way, and a few other things in there. Most of it didn't seem to really lead me much nowhere and didn't really seem to offer me any really personalizations that really spoke to me. Like, hey, I'd like you to make my my Gemini talk like I'm a military on a starship. I'm a military officer or something. Or I'd like it to talk like a valley girl or something like that. And that stuff does honestly exist. Those kind of personalization options exist in other tools, like I think of a disability tool called Ally that allows you to go in there and make customizations and say, hey, I always want you, when you encounter this, explain it this way, or I would like you to, never say cuss words or whatever like that. Didn't see any personalization options in there that really leaped out at me as impressive. Lots of neat categories, but kind of was like I went down a few of them and nothing really just kind of spoke to me. So anyway, anyhow, let's move on. Number 2 here. Accounts. I saw an accounts option, which led me to believe, and it says in there, you can connect to other accounts through other cloud providers, and then your assistant, or Gemini in this instance, can pour through that. But I went and looked at it, and I went to the Learn More section, and I didn't see anything that really spoke to me. Like I was hoping for like a list of types of accounts, maybe like an Apple account with their calendar and stuff, or I don't know, Instagram, or God knows, anything. I was hoping for something. The only thing that I seemed to see under the Learn More section was that it basically looks like it could connect to Google Photos at this time. So certainly in a lot of these instances, they allude to third-party providers. They just don't seem to have any yet, or they lost them all when they did this great transition and like threw a whole bunch of their apps and skills out the door. And pretty much don't even, I think, have almost like a skill store anymore, unlike Amazon's Echo, the Alexa, which still has the legacy Alexa skills store. And they're even rebranding a new set of services and cloud stuff, as I told you guys, I think in a past episode, as an Alexa store. So they're definitely, slowly nudging the needle forward here. But yeah, this just seemed to connect to Google Photos. So if there was other third-party services that I could connect to that it could data mine content from, that would be really cool, because the Gemini app is AI is very versatile and powerful. We've definitely learned about that in the last 2 to 3 weeks, where Gemini really stepped up the game in certain arenas. I can't even remember what model we're on now. Is it 3 or something like that? But anyway, it would be nice to see if there was other ways we could get data into the system. All right, let's move on to our next item here. I mentioned that. This is neat. This is my third point. There is an option in our settings here under the Google Assistant app to modify the Hey G wake word responsiveness. So in its sensitivity, which I think is just kind of interesting. I would like additional options and maybe different wake words, but hey, that's an option I honestly can say Alexa doesn't have. The next option I'm going to mention here is Notes option, which we did try to do in a previous episode. I said I kept having mixed results. Those mixed results are still happening. But I did notice here that I could connect it to Google Keep, which is like their brief, bare bones, basic. Well, I say bare bones. There's actually more to it than I thought. A bare bones note-taking service. So I do have that capability. And in fact, let's give that a try now. Hey, Google, what's the latest note that I made?
It looks like you don't have any notes.
See, this is exactly what happens to me that drives me nuts sometimes. Okay, let's try again. Hey, Google, what's the most recent note I have made today?
Your most recently edited note says, this is a test of David Ward recording an audio note into Google Keep Yabba Dabba Doo.
Yay! Finally got it. I gotta tell you, it was really post-production editing, guys, but it was really throwing me for a loop here. Decided it just didn't want to do that today, even though I'd just done it like an hour ago. Okay. All right, so anyway, what's interesting about that particular note I did is that was a recording that was transcribed inside of my Google Keep app on my phone. So let's see if I can edit it. Let's just try. Hey, Google, can you edit that note?
Sorry, I can't edit notes yet.
Hey Google, can you delete that note?
I can't do that on this device yet. You can say, show all my notes on your phone and select the note you want to change.
All right, well, we're just going to give up at this point. I have created new notes like a grocery list and a few other things like that, and then got it while we were in session to modify it, maybe like number the list and do some things like that. Most interestingly, what I was interested in here was my ability to get data into the Gemini system so I can triage it. So we know with Alexa, I can email a document, an image, or just an email to her, and she can process that information on my behalf. I can say spit it back out, send it back to me in an email, or I could go into the app and cut and paste it out. So those are options that I definitely have. But I was wondering, where is Google in this arena? So I did go and check, guys, and inside the Google Assistant app, remember we have these, now we're dealing with 3 apps that I'm dealing with today: the Google Home app, the Google Assistant app, and at this moment, the Google Keep app. But I went to the Google Assistant app where you can actually talk to your Gemini and type out messages or actually hit a voice mode. And there was no import button. So unlike the Alexa app, I have a button where I can upload photos or a document. And I can even in my phone do a share feature, like say over in iCloud, I have a PDF, a McDonald's menu or whatever it is. I can shoot it over to the Alexa app and it will import it. And then my A-Lady, I can triage that information. Say, find me, chicken dinners under $5 or something. But inside of the Google Assistant, there was no way to share to it and there was no way to import to it. So it doesn't look like there was any way other than cutting and pasting text into the text field to actually get data into it, which I found pretty disappointing. The other thing here is this is kind of a back channel way you could do it is with this Google Keep app is because not only can you create notes verbally, but you can also go in on an app on your phone or tablet and get that data in there. Now, it's basically a text notes. And then as I said, I could do an audio recording and it transcribes it, which is the one that you had to read out before it read the transcription. Didn't play the audio. That would have been nice if it offered the option to do that. And the other last option it had in there, I think, is it could do like images or diagrams. And you could take your phone and snap, I'm assuming this is OCR, you could snap maybe a document or something, and it would scan it in there. I'm just guessing. And then maybe you could have Gemini on your Google Nest read that back to you or something like that. I don't know. But it's pretty limited what you can put into Google Keep. It's not like I did try to shoot over like a PDF or something like that, and it was really a no-go. It did have an import option, but it didn't look like it could take much. In fact, let's ask, hey Google, what type of files can I import into Google Keep?
You can import various file types into Google Keep, including text, lists, images, and audio. Google Keep can also extract text from images using optical character recognition.
It does, yep.
And it automatically transcribes voice recordings.
Okay, so all the basically the things I said, but like an actual PDF or a Word doc, it has to be actually like a text file, or you actually cut and paste text over into it. So that gives you an idea. A little limiting, I think, in that regard, and so I do find that a little disappointing. All right, let's see if there's anything else on my list here. Yeah, so I ultimately do find it a little disappointing that there's not a way we can email information over or triage some of this data. But anyway, that just gives you a little further insight into Gemini. If you guys have a suggestion or something you'd like me to test out on the Google Nest Mini before I lose access, feel free to reach out to me because I'll probably got one more episode maybe in me to get out unless I do a batch of these. About Gemini on the Nest device. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. I haven't done much with home automation, and I did look into routines for you guys today. So the points that I brought out today were things that I thought were of interest, that were maybe different or some way better, or a real comparison thing that I thought we needed to make between this and the Alexa Plus. I did look into routines. They look kind of primitive, like almost like all the scaffolding is there, but there's no meat on the bones yet. But that may change. I do think there's some interesting options in there when you think about Gemini connected with Android devices. If you're an Android phone user, I think there may be some interesting things in there. Or like we said, those video cameras and stuff, those offer some pretty amazing options as well. All right, well, that will wrap the show up. If you have any thoughts or suggestions for a future episode or a comparison you'd like to see me make, reach out to us at echoTipsPodcast@certdoctor.com. That's CERT, Doctor, DOCTOR.com. I again apologize for the audio quality today because there's no easy way to mic this Google Nest device into the mixer because there's no output jack on the thing. And so I'm pretty much just trying to hold it close to the microphone. And I swear I had a lapel mic around here somewhere that I could have mic'd it that way, but I, for the life of me, could not find the lapel mic that I was going to try and use. But anyway, until next time, as we always say, we do thank you for listening.